So it keeps having this life in different aspects of it. And so I just think about that when I'm making things for other people now. I make beds a lot, and I'm like, the pieces are going to have these crazy life experiences themselves and are going to be part of someone else's crazy life experience. And if they come back to me, I'll make them into something else. I'll keep them alive.
Welcome to the Trades Show. This is a show about modern craft work. Each episode, I step into the workshops of skilled artisans across industries, from metalsmithing and butchery to woodworking and shoe cobbling. I'm your host, Briana Ottoboni. The Trades Show explores what it means to be a craft worker, the revival of the artisan trades, and the return to what makes us human, the ability to make with our hands. Because in every trade, there's a rhythm. The whir of a lathe, the hiss of a solder, the slice of a blade. And through these rhythms, we return to ourselves. Because making isn't just what we do, it's who we are. I'm so glad you're here. Today on the Trade Show, I am joined by Luis Peña, woodworker and furniture designer behind Peña Made. We talk about his journey from graphic designer to woodworker, the importance of making by hand in today's world, and how woodworking is more than a trade. It's an art form that connects the visual and the emotional, the past and the present. Our conversation takes place inside his Bay Area studio, the Whiskey and Wood Society. I'm just so excited to talk to you more about what you do. I have a couple questions that I like to start off each episode with to kind of ground us. So first, how would you describe your craft? So how would you describe woodworking to both someone who maybe is unfamiliar with it, but also what it means to you?
Nice, going deep, fast. I love it. So woodworking to me is like, of all the creative paths I've gone down in my life, it's been the most purest art form that I've attempted and I'm kind of in right now. It is a way to kind of express a bunch of things I want to express, but yet in a practical way as well, because you actually can use it and be a part of people's lives. And then there's a permanence to it that I really love, because most of my work throughout my career has been very semi-impermanent, fast, and this thing kind of stays with people's lives and becomes a part of a family and memories and all that stuff. And I love that. So that's really kind of is what it means to me, is, you know, making really beautiful things as pretty as I can, exploring creative paths, learning new engineering styles to take the things that I'm drawing and make them not fall apart and last a long time, and to make things that'll be a part of people's lives and that people love, make them happy.
Yeah, amazing. And can you just bring us into your world a little bit? Like, what does a day in your life look like as a woodworker?
Day in my life. Well, I'm usually the first one here, which I'm not sure why, because I'm not really an early morning guy, but I like coming here. I really love coming here. And a day in my life is I show up here and I kind of walk in the door, and as you experienced when you walked in, there's like this smell in this place that just smells so good. And it's all the different species of wood that we're working with. It's the Rubio finishes we use. There's just a really unique smell to this place that like hits you right when you come in. And so that to me is like something I miss and want, and like when I'm away from here, I come back to it. So yeah, I come here, I get kind of open up doors and lift gates and move forklifts and all this fun shit that I like. When I was a kid, a little boy, I was like, you know, I have a forklift now. That's kind of neat. Amazing. And then I just start going through, like I make a to-do list on a notepad of projects I have going on and things I need to kind of accomplish for the day. And if I don't make them all, that's fine. It just like gives me kind of a goal, and start building or designing or packaging or whatever the day ends up being.
Yeah. Okay, I have so many threads I want to pull on, but can you just tell us how you got here? You talked to me, when we talked on the phone, you said this is like your fourth or fifth career. So how did you get to where you are now, and how's your business evolved?
That's a good question. I would say I love hobbies, and I'm a big hobby guy, and I always get kind of infatuated with my hobbies, and then they end up turning into careers. And then I kind of follow it that way. So I've been, making furniture and woodworking has been a hobby of mine since I moved to San Francisco, and I got my first apartment, and I started like building shelves, and then I built a bed, and then met my wife, and we got a little home together, and I started building all the furniture for the home, like the tables and another bed and mirrors, just whatever. And it's just like a fun hobby. I would bought most of my tools from like Home Depot or something like that. And yeah, so it literally was like a garage thing. And then it kind of just kept growing and getting a little more refined. And I got a little cabin up in Tahoe, and I moved the whole wood shop to Tahoe. And then it became this thing where it was like spiritual almost. Like I'd go to Tahoe, snowboard or run or do all that fun shit I like to do up there, and then I would just bury myself in this little woodshop garage for days and days making stuff for the house up there and other things. And then all the while I've been doing this, I was a graphic designer, art director.
Yeah, bring us back a little bit.
Way back. I went to school for advertising, but I was also learning graphic design simultaneously, and came out to San Francisco from Texas and was one of the first kind of hybrid graphic designer art directors in town. And it was right also like kind of when the internet kind of started up big. And so that idea of like a person that can do multiple things had value out here. And so the places I worked at gave me incredible freedom. They were just like, go do you. And so I always kind of, from that point on, just had a lot of freedom in making things. And that led then to interactive. And then I had a company, and it got bought by another advertising agency. And then I was like managing all these kids, and taught school a little bit at the academy. I taught a graphic design class there. I used to do the speeches around the country at these award shows about the beauty of rust, about keeping journals, and how important they are, and especially in an age of computer time. Yes. And the interactive stuff we were doing like really cool story-based websites back in the Flash days and all that. And that led to me wanting to tell more visual stories, which then led to film. And I did a documentary in Haiti after the earthquake, which was really intense, but a really beautiful experience. And I was just like constantly, my eyes were in this lens, like viewing, what I was seeing down in Haiti. And that film went on to some really cool film fests, and we raised money at every film fest, and then ended up building a school in Haiti for the woman whose orphanage we featured. And so then I saw the power of film, like what it could do. And then I just wanted to be in that world of just looking through a viewfinder. So I got my eyes LASIK so I wouldn't have to wear glasses, and freaking bought a red camera like an idiot, had zero experience other than the Canon I used for this little film. And I taught myself how to do that, and then I made this film on trail running because I run trails, and it was a really cool film. And I made the film just for myself to like learn the craft and do it in my own voice and my own style. And got a call from LA like the week it launched, and said, "You want to be a director?" And I was like, "Sure." So based out of LA for I don't know, 5-7 years. I lived in San Francisco, but I was working out at LA. And then I decided to make my own production company with a partner. And so then we started, I've had my own production company now for 4 or 5 years, I think. And we've been making really cool films, brand films, commercials for a lot of cool companies and brands. And the best ones are when people just say, "Go, Peña, go." Yes. Travel the country and come back with something, and I love doing that. I love the freedom of that in film. So all of that, sorry, long-winded story.
No, I love it.
It's hectic.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'd come back home, and I was just like, I need something to ground myself. And so I rented a space at this wood shop in Oakland to kind of go on these film productions, come home, have something to do. Yeah. And because coming home from film productions and just sitting around waiting for the next film production is very stressful. And I didn't like that feeling. And I didn't like feeling like I was waiting for something. So I rented this space out. That's where I met Juan. And at that time, my wife became a really successful interior designer. And then she started showing me furniture, or I kept seeing her projects that were just phenomenal, like funny, exciting, humorous, sexy, like all the emotions. And I was like, holy shit, furniture can be all that? Like you can, it just showed me there's no rules in furniture. And at that time, I was kind of believing that anyway with everything else in my life. So I started making stuff in that vein, like how I would make films and how I'd make graphic design, where I would just like think of silhouettes, or like what's typography in a table look like, or what's an ode to my grandmother, or like, I don't know, I just started thinking like kind of like stories, and I started naming them names and making these like backstories behind them, and then boom.
Say more about the storytelling piece, because I think that's such a beautiful transition from the filmmaking and from that's what you're doing when you're making films. You're telling stories, and you've been able to translate that into like such physical objects. And what's your process like if someone comes to you and has a project or has sort of a vision of what they're trying to create? How do you weave a story into that?
When you have like a film project or design project or whatever, there's like a brief. There's like, what's the goal? And so I always ask them, what's the goal? Like, what do you want to communicate? What is the theme of the room? If it's a dining table, it's like, what are the chairs that are in it? What's the vibe? What are the other pieces that you're considering in this space? Who are these people? And things like that. First, I kind of want to understand where it's kind of fitting. And then it's like, those are when I'm working with a designer, like really kind of helping them design something that will both be aesthetically beautiful for the space that they're looking for, functional, but also has some knot or tie to, a thread that they're trying to weave. There's a language. There's a language in all creative forms. Like there's a language in graphic design, there's a language in film, there's a language in furniture. And so once I know what I'm trying to say, then I kind of can start piecing it together. Like for example, this piece here is a bookshelf, which y'all can check out later in a second. I grew up in Texas, and my dad's from Mexico, and his mom was like, and my grandma was like, just like this huge inspiration to me. I felt like of all the people in my family, she was the one I was the most similar to. And she was batshit crazy. So, like, it was awesome for me being young. So? Just wild, just like free, taking chances, risk-taking, bold. She was all the things I wanted to be. Beautiful. She lived alone. She had this gorgeous house in Musquis, Mexico, which is this tiny little town that's kind of at the dead end of a road. The next town you get to is Boquillas, which is in Big Bend National Park. So literally in the mountains, like they're the last town. It's a mining town. And she had this furniture in her house. And I always think of her house. It had like huge high ceilings. So I have high ceilings now in my house. Like literally her influence on me is like endless. But there's this ubiquitous shelf that you see a lot in Mexico. You see in the Frida Kahlo Museum, there's two of them there. And they fit in the corners. And they're like tiered like that. They're kind of stair step. And they have these really decorative pillars for support. And then we have it now in our house, my mama's house in Texas. And so that's kind of what this is influenced by. It's like, and no one will know that, but me. But this is my interpretation of that wider, different hint of modernization with like the circles. Yeah. So that's the story of that. That's its story. And even though the people that may have the piece don't know the specifics of the story, I hope when they see it, when they enjoy it, when it's in their house, that they feel that. Yeah. And it connects with them like that piece connected with me.
Yeah, I love your Nona table. And
yes. Yeah. Nona, right here. Nona was cool because I was like, my wife wanted a little small side table that was kind of like, she's like, I just want something like kind of Art Deco, but not Art Deco, but like a pedestal kind of vibe. And so that was really all I got from her. So I had a lot of she gives me a ton of freedom. So
Love that.
thank you, Kristen. We had just gone to Italy, and we like walk everywhere when we go, and then I go run cities while I'm there too. So there's this cool like Art Deco part of Rome that I came across, and I can't remember the name of it, but I was taking photos a lot when I was there, and it was really cool because like I was really into like the classical style that was like Greek influence, but to see Italian Art Deco is like a whole nother vibe. I never you know, seen that or knew about it. And so then I started imagining, like when I was doing this table, like I named it before I even made it. I was like, it's gonna be a grandma, this woman who lives in that neighborhood. She's in a flat, she lives by herself. Like you walk in her house and there's all these photos on the wall and frames, like a gallery. And there's a photo of her from like a Pirelli advertisement from 1950s. And she's in this like sleek, sexy Italian outfit leaning against this sleek, sexy Italian car. And she's gorgeous. And you know, you go in and everything is just like curated and thought out, and it's just an apartment full of treasures. And so this table would be in there. So that's
Sounds
in
like
my
if
mind.
your grandmother lived in
Italy. Yeah. There's a thread.
Totally. No.
And so I drew like probably 10 designs, and Kristen picked this one, but all 10 have that sensibility. And that's the other thing about doing multiple designs. Like that's from my other world. I always do a lot to then hone into the right one. So I usually never just draw one thing. I draw like, if I'm going for something, I'll draw multiple. And so I'm not afraid to fail. Like I'm just like, draw. Oh, there it is. And one thing influences the other. So that's how she came about. And then it kind of came in design set, and I've built a lot of pieces in that style. But again, it's just this kind of organic thing that's been happening.
Yeah, you talk about the design component, and that is so clear that you come from a design background. And how do you translate that into the like actual building and the construction, which is, I feel like, such a different part of your brain?
Yep. Yes, and it's a part of the brain.
How did you learn that?
That is the most I'm learning right now. And when I'm designing, because I don't have any formal training in woodworking or furniture making or anything like that, there's like a good side and a bad side. The great side is that I don't have any hang-ups. I don't go into anything like, oh, this is
mindset the whole time.
In all aspects of my life. That is like key. I believe in the beginner's mindset. Like I clutch onto it.
How do you do that?
I play. I live a life of play. And
how do you like intentionally build that into your life?
I intentionally stay naive about things that I'm doing. So like intentionally don't get bogged down by the technical part of it. I avoid it as much as possible. I seek help when I need it from like Earl and these guys. I mean, I wouldn't be able to be doing this without them, or other people who have Ish, who does the steel for all my work. Like I bring him in to consult, and then he kind of helps figure it out. But I intentionally try not to master that or learn that, because that then I found that a long time ago, like it's just not natural to me. I like to keep it pure and playful and so that's what I've been doing with this aspect. In film, same way. Like, you know, I'm direct these spots, but I also am the DP and the cameraman, and I work on a lot of different camera systems, and I know the cameras, like what I like, and I'm literally the one holding it and creating the cinematography, but I rely so much on my first and second ACs for everything. Like all the technical aspects, everything. You just, histograms, white balancing, I'm constantly talking back. Sometimes I wear a microphone, a little speaker, and we're just like chatting back and forth about things, and they're adjusting and they're making the technical adjustments. And so I can just be pure in the visual part of it. And it's, because that's where I thrive, and that's where I have fun, and that's where I feel like my talent is in that. So I intentionally surround myself with really smart people that are way smarter than me. And I appreciate them, and I award them, and I love them and need them. So that's how I do it. I surround myself with just people that are smarter than me and better in me.
Yeah, but to be able to, I think, really just trust input from coming in from
Yes.
all directions.
Yeah.
I mean, even in creation of the show, I feel like I had such a desire to like research and kind of know all the different parts of it so that I could piece it together. But the way that you described really kind of almost intentionally staying high level so that
Yes.
you can really just have the vision and then bring in experts that can sort of
Yeah.
bring it to life in these different ways is, yeah, really like special perspective.
And people want to help. People want to
Yeah.
be valued. People want to collaborate. I find beautiful things happen with that, you know? So like for me, Peña Made's not me. It's an ecosystem in a sense, you know? It's like, it wouldn't exist without this whiskey and wood crew that I'm with, you know? It wouldn't exist that I just happen to be next to a guy that makes steel. It's like there's being open to collaborating with other people. Like the people I work with that cut marble for me and just on and on. Like, and I think by having that ability to just be like open to bringing them in and to achieve a creative goal and not try to control it all, trusting other folks, I've found to be really powerful and beneficial and allowed me to do really cool stuff. So,
Yeah, you talk so much about, I mean, you just described the ecosystem, but all of the people and the collaboration and the really community that you create in, but also the influence of your family and just this like interconnectedness.
Yep.
And when we talked on the phone, we talked a little bit about just the kind of new importance of the human made and what really is, it's really the goal of this show is like bringing us back to what is innately human and what allows us to communicate that and really just be in that kind of unique humanness. And can you speak a little bit about that and the importance of like the human made component of your work and how everything sort of comes together, just what that means to you?
There is, I'm gonna go back to my dad.
Yeah.
He was really the one that got me going this whole thing. Like when I was, I'll never forget, like I was probably third grade or something, second grade. And I guess I needed a bookcase or in my room or like a desk to work, do homework and put books in, probably all my Dungeons and Dragons books. And
which is like building worlds.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm a very, imagination is key. I live in my imagination. But I would sit in the garage and he would be working away and he had this set up in the garage and he would listen to AM radio and I mean, I can see it and smell it and be there like right now. And what was really profound to me that there was a need and he made it. And then it was in my room and then it was in my part of my entire life in Houston, Texas. And I don't know what happened to it, but it was just really cool. Like that was like a profound moment that if you want something, you can make it. And you don't need to rely on someone else. And you just have to learn a few things to achieve that. And so I think with this path is what I love is that it is, I love the physicality of it. I love coming home just shattered, tired, because I've been standing on my feet all day long and working a router or lifting stuff or milling wood it's just physical and I like that. And that's one of the things, like, there's also one of the things I liked about film. Is that it's carrying a 40-pound camera system around you. It's exhausting and it's tiring. And that to me is like a great feeling is that when you get home, you just feel accomplished and you feel the physicality of it. But also just like making with your hands is really special because at the end of the day, when you look at something, you're like, damn, I made that, you know? This did not exist without all these parts and it did not exist without, you brought something to existence, like a little baby, you know?
Yeah, and then when you described it to me before, sorry to interrupt,
No,
but you
please.
talked about how you're making items that last and you're making things that last and then you're sort of bringing them to life in all of these ways, but then they go on and live a life of their own. Can you talk about that, like how you see your art and just the like permanence and physicality of it?
Yes, wood is like very porous, and that's why I like wood. I love wood. I mean, I mess with stone and brass and all this stuff, but wood is where I am, and I like wood because it is porous and it absorbs all the family fights, all the laughter, all the drunken nights. It needs to be sturdy to be danced on. It needs to be able to handle spilled wine. It needs to have serious discussions. It soaks all that in. And
Can you tell the story about the bed?
Oh, yeah, my baby's bed. Yeah, I mean, right there was the first time I really realized that was I made this little bed for my first daughter and oldest daughter, and when she was transitioning from like the crib to like a bed. So I made a bed that was like on the floor, but I built this like railing around it so she wouldn't just roll off into the floor in the middle of the night. And it was like a platform bed. And she used it, and when she grew out, my other daughter used it. And then when she grew out of it, our friend Kendra, she had 3 daughters, all 3 of them used it. So it came back to me because Kendra was like, all right, Elisa's outgrown this thing. What should I do with it? And I was like, well, I'll take it back. And I got it back, and I was looking at it in my garage, and this is before I had this. It was just in my garage, and I was like, I can't throw this thing away. It just has too many memories in it. And it was like, the wood was just stained. It was white oak, and it was just like circles and liquid, and it was all just like milk, basically. Milk stains and baby dreams. And so I decided to make this like little bench out of the wood. And so I cut it up, and as I was sanding it, I could smell that smell of like that. I remember like when you have a baby and there's just this smell to babies that is really unique. And I was just like, and the milk was embedded in the wood too. So like I didn't sand too deep. I kept it in there. And that was just this huge moment for me, a realization like, wow, like this thing is born, this wood was a tree. Then it became a baby bed. And then it went through multiple babies, and it has all that in the porousness of the wood, and now it can be reshaped into something else. So it keeps having this life in different aspects of it. And so I just think about that when I'm making things for other people now. Like I make beds a lot, and I'm like, the pieces are going to have these crazy life experiences themselves, and are going to be part of someone else's crazy life experience. Yeah. And if they come back to me, I'll make them into something else. I'll keep them alive.
Yeah, and you said they come from the very beginning. They come from a tree, and so
yes.
Can you, getting into more of the kind of woodworking piece of things, describe what your process looks like from sourcing materials to actually, and maybe do you have a project that you're working on right now that you could kind of talk through of how you've
absolutely
developed it?
So everything, I only use hardwoods, and I really only use 3 species. I use walnut, oak, white oak, and ash. It's really all, and I keep it kind of simple like that. And like,
what are the different kind of properties even between those, or like when do you decide to use which one?
Some are like the designers that I work with, because I pretty much exclusively work with interior designers. So they'll request like a walnut or a white oak. Ash is usually I use when I want to either make it like blackened or white, like really like bleached. So it's really good for those 2 colors. Oak is great because you can stain it multiple types of colors. And there's this one stain I've custom built with my wife, Kristen, that's like this dark kind of antique style. And so I dig white oak for that. White oak's a pain in the ass to work with. Any woodworker will tell you that.
Why?
It expands and contracts the most. And so it can splinter. It can, like, after you finish a piece, like, you can expect little hairline cracks can form and disappear throughout the season because it's just the way the cellular
it's like
makeup.
Putting things into a kiln for pottery.
Yeah, but throughout the year, with moisture and humidity and dryness, it really expands and contracts a lot. And walnut is just freaking beautiful. I mean, it is the most beautiful wood of them all, in my opinion. And especially when you put the oils on it, it just like, it's like one of the coolest. Yeah. It's like a photograph. If you ever did like black and white development, when you see the image come up and that feeling you get, that's the same feeling all of us feel when we're putting oil on walnut, because it just transforms into this thing, and you're just like, wow. So I use those sourced all locally, or I use Moore Newton, Hayward, and Gobi walnut up in Oregon. So they basically kiln dry the wood. So wood, for me to work with, it has to be dried for at least like a year and temperature controlled, so it stays stable. So they basically will deliver raw, like kiln dried wood here, and it's like not straight and So then the whole process first is what we call milling the wood, which is straightening the wood. So first you get this wood that's like, it's been,
Does it come in like a slab, or do you get like a
you
trunk?
get like a pallet. Like we'll get like a pallet of square footage of
Got
wood.
it.
So it'll be like 10 boards.
Okay.
And I
So
can
it's
show
cut.
you the way. It's cut,
Got it.
and they're generally straight and long, but they're like, then you have to straighten them because they're not, they're wobbly. So then we just go in, and there's like a process of like, joining it, planing it, putting it on the table saw, cutting it to size, and putting it back on the joiner, then gluing it up into plane. And then you have basically your surface that you're then going to start working with. So that, no matter what project I have, that process of milling is the first step, is like straightening the wood and making it really perfectly straight to be able to be cut. So yeah, I think in a shorter form of that is like, we get rough wood delivered here, and then it's a process of straightening and reduction throughout the whole thing. So it's very much like sculpture. Like you're just reducing until you get to your final sizes that you want, and then you start assembly. And then it's also this like really silly attempt at perfection. Yeah, of something that's very natural and moves, and throughout the year, like the temperature in this place changes as well. So like, that's why we put air under it all. We let air flow. Like you have to like really be careful with it. You cover it. You have to, it's like pizza dough and stuff sometimes. It's like, you literally have to just kind of coax it.
Yeah.
Coax it into what you want it to be. And if you force it, it'll break or splinter or crack, or it'll get you back. So it's just kind of like,
You're like tending to it.
yeah, it's like a slow process. It is
mutual support.
Yeah, you're like, I'm trying to make you into this little tiny, I know you're this strong, big, hunky, wavy thing, and I want to make you into this like delicate, feminine thing, but retain that strength throughout. So there's like, it's cool. It's cool. And then lathing, like I do a lot of turning. That's a whole nother reduction process where I'll put a block on the lathe, and it literally, that is the most kind of sculptural like of the process, where it's spinning and you're just slowly reducing it with these hand tools.
Is that what you use for the circular, like in the bookcase? Yeah.
Yep. Those are, some of those are hand turned, and then some of them, after I've kind of gotten a design down, then I'll use CNC lathe turning once I figure out like what.
What's that?
It's a computer controlled, so you can replicate it.
Okay.
So it can be replicated. Because when you
so
hand
you
lathe,
program it to lathe.
you learn 3D application, and then I had to learn 3D to do this. All of us are working 3D to kind of build out our models, and then you can take that 3D and like a circle or amorphous shape and actually put it on a computer controlled lathe, and it can cut it perfectly to that shape. And then you still have to shape it and sand it down and do some more reduction to it. But that's another process. So I got one of those on its way, as you heard when you came in, and a little bit terrified, a little bit excited. But yeah, I think it's going to be very transformative for me here to actually own one and see how I can mess with it.
Yeah, and also, we talked about this a little bit, but just that you're at a place where you're thinking about what it would look like to scale and grow your business, and it feels like that is such a tool that would allow you to do that. And
absolutely.
Can you speak to that a little bit more, or maybe even just the business side? I think it's so interesting that when artists are, selling their art full time, you become a business person sort of overnight, and potentially without any kind of training in that. That's such a different part of your brain. Like, how did you learn the business side? What does the business side look like for you? That's
a great question. And I would say the number one part of the business side that I'm learning is answering emails. Because I stay really busy, and especially when I come here, I get lost in these projects, and I'm one of those minds, like when I start messing with something, like I don't hear people talking to me. I don't
You're in
really.
Flow.
I'm in the flow.
Totally.
I'm deep in the flow. And I'm always looking to get into the flow. Yeah. And so I don't answer emails. And so most of the last couple of years, I've been really bad at that. And lately I've been like, okay, I need to really be better about that, because that is the influx of new projects and new opportunities and all of that stuff. So literally in the last like month, I've been making a point to just stay late, just get on the computer or start the day on the computer and just start going through it and really. And then the other aspect is like, for me personally, is like, the growth. So everything that's happened to this point has been very organic. Like I think Instagram is probably where I get, or maybe Pinterest is where people are finding me, because I'm getting requests from all over the country, even international. Wow. And I have no idea where they've come from or how they found me. I don't know how you found
amazing.
me. You know, like
I know.
I'm just me.
That's the best.
So it is cool. And so it's exciting because like, I don't know, I feel really honored. You just feel like a little special flower, and someone like calls you out of the blue and wants you to make something rad with them. I love that. But the problem that I was running into is like, I didn't really know like how much work I could take on and then actually go out and look for more work. Yes. So I kind of just went back to what I did with like my, when I started like the production company and stuff like that, where I scaled up. Well, I basically got the team, then we'll go and look for the work. Because I didn't want to like take on work and then be like panicked and then be like working all night, which I've spent a couple of all-nighters here trying to make deadlines, and it's cold here at night, and I don't want to do that. And Earl never lets me turn on the freaking heat. So like right now, I've made a huge investment in the last couple weeks with bringing on Juan and Joe and the CNC machine without knowing if I even have the projects to support that.
Build it and they will come.
Build it and they will come. I feel like if I have it, now I can responsibly go out for it. I can responsibly say, hey, this is who I am. And I'll still keep it small. 'Cause of all the things I do, I always try to aim for like a level. Mm-hmm. I don't try to go above a level. I've learned once you're out of a little room, it's not fun. And I've been, I found myself in corner office once, and I quit 2 weeks later.
Not the dream.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to be a manager. I want to be a maker. So no matter what it will become, it's still going to be small, but we'll be able to make more and keep the quality high, because the quality to me is paramount. Like, people are coming to me they expect the highest quality, and I'm always trying to achieve that. And like I said, it's this vain attempt to try to get perfection. So I don't get sad when I don't, but I get close. And as long as I get close, I'm happy. And my close to perfection is what other people will think is, it's dialed in, but we all see these minuscule imperfections that no one else will ever see.
I know, I saw that
earlier
with the little.
Yeah.
No, I love that. And when you're building your team, I know you talked a little bit when we talked on the phone about having interns and training people that are maybe new to this, but I would love to segue into that, like for someone who is, curious about this or curious about pursuing it as a kind of alternative career path where they can be a maker and not a manager.
Absolutely.
How do you think about training people, or I guess what advice would you have for people who are just wanting to come into this trade?
I'll start with the latter part. Like, if anyone wants to get started in this, the number one thing I always tell them, and it's with anything, if you want to be a woodworker or a ceramicist is don't call yourself an aspiring, number one.
Yes.
You just say, I'm a woodworker, I'm a photographer, I'm a director, I'm a art director. You just I'm a podcaster, you own your identity. And as my wife and I always say, we fake it till we make it, and it's not faking it. You become that.
You
and
embody
embody it, and you just start doing. And there's this great advertising agency in Portland called Wyden & Kennedy, and in their lobby is this huge art piece made of push pins, and it says, fail harder. And I remember the first time I saw it, I just stared at it. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Fail harder. Like, I didn't even understand it. And I literally just sat there and just stared at it for a while until it like clicked into what that meant. And it is go to failure. Don't be afraid to fail. Like, to go to failure is then, okay, shit, there's a boundary, or I'm gonna try again. And the more you do that, the more comfortable you are with it, and the more you'll grow, and the more else your career will kind of take off, because having that fearlessness is key to creativity.
Yeah. I love the fail harder. I think in startup world, you hear fail fast, fail. Like,
oh yeah,
just keep going as
Yeah.
fast as you can, and kind of, you know, the goal is to make mistakes so that you learn from them.
Yep.
But I think it all sort of stays at the surface at that point, and I
Yep.
feel like fail harder is more about taking the bigger leaps, or like
Yeah.
embodying who you want to be,
Yes.
and then letting failure come from that place, and,
Yes.
and you'll learn from that. But
Yeah.
I think it feels
Expecting
different.
it.
Yeah,
Expecting it to happen,
yeah,
welcoming it,
yeah,
and yeah, it sucks,
yeah,
and you're gonna cry, and you're gonna not sleep at night, and yeah, there's a bunch of shit, and then you're broke, and there's a lot of bad things, but then you get up and you keep going, and you push and you fight, and then it opens up new avenues, and then it also is like, it's like going off a jump, you know, for the first time, like on a snowboard or something. Like, now you know it. Now you know where the landing is. Now you know how fast you need to go to actually complete it, and you let go of the fear, and then you get into the flow, and
Yeah.
then you achieve it. And that's the same thing in this space. It's the same mentality. And then for like the other question about, you know, introducing this young kids is important to me. I was mentored. When I came to San Francisco, I was homeless for a while. I had no job. I was, you know, coming out of advertising school, but there was a recession going on here. And this dude took me in, this ad agency. His name was Carlton Taylor. And he was the only black creative director in all of California. He would ride to work every day on a Harley Fat Boy, which I love. I finally worked with Harley last year, and I was just like full circle, life
Yes.
circle. And he just took me under his wing and treated me like a son, and just, I mean, I just worshiped him, and he just taught me everything. And him and I are very similar minds. Like, he would like get into bowling, and then he was like mastering bowling, and like, and he'd get into something else, and he would master it, and like, so it was like, for me, seeing that like jack of all trades kind of vibe was a cool way to live. Like, just constantly learn, constantly push yourself, learn something else. Once you got it, go to the next thing, and keep doing that. And that's why I'm here. Is this chapter, and so I try to do that to others, and I've been doing that since I was in advertising, since I've been in film, and now in woodworking. I just always am trying to mentor other younger folks and telling them everything I know, holding nothing back, giving them opportunities, and opening up my whatever I'm doing to them so that they can learn and grow. And I've had 3 or 4 interns through here now, and last year it was really important because I was like, you see around here, there's almost all guys, and a lot of this space is a lot of dudes. And I was like, I'm father of daughters, so I'm like, we need more women in this space. So I really saw it out. Like last year, I was like, I'm only going to look at female applicants, and I'm only going to like really kind of search for them. And I found this one, and her name's Ellen. She's awesome, and she worked with me all summer, and she came back in December, and she's going to come back this summer too. And she's over at Pratt. And I don't know, I'm just really proud of her and where she's going. And also with my own daughters, like, they're not in woodworking, but my oldest daughter's about to graduate. She's going to advertising. She's at the academy at Goodby. And my youngest daughter, she's in art at Oregon. She go Ducks. And hopefully she'll follow my wife's footsteps and get into like interior design and stuff. But like,
or find art and
we're
work.
telling them, like, do art, make shit, be a maker. Because both my wife and I have had careers following that path, and it is a scary path because there is like this black hole underneath you. There's no guarantee you're gonna make any money or not. You know, no one's gonna give you health care, any of that stuff. But there's a freedom to it, and that's what we both thrive in. And then there's a happiness that we've had, and then there's a community you get a part of that I feel is a wider community than if you worked with one place. So yeah, we promote it as much as possible.
Yeah, and that's such a special thing to be able to model. I mean, most people, you have all the modeling of the shoulds of all the paths that you should do or could do that are more traditional and stable, and to have models supporting you pursuing a different path who are also pursuing a different path is a really,
it is key.
I think that's really special.
Yeah, I mean, I'd encourage people like, hey, whatever you want to get into, find people that are doing it, reach out to them. they're probably not going to write you back because they're probably like me and overwhelmed and doing 8 million things and full-on ADHD kid and like all the things that are challenging to me. But if you're persistent, just be persistent. Write them again, and they'll write you back, because persistence is really how you get through people like me and other creators, because like we are flighty in our mind. It's not flighty, it's just like life is overwhelming to this brain. But when people are persistent, then I'm like, oh, I notice, and then I respect, and then I want to help. And then when you have someone that wants to help you, they'll do a lot for you. I'm going to continue that path of mentoring and helping, because it's like being a dad. Like, I'm a dad. I've coached soccer teams. Like, I'm a dad
I love
dude.
that. I love that. Well, thank you so much. And I want to just close with, like, what do you want to leave people with? So if people were to listen to this or watch this, and what's the one thing that you would want them to take away? Either
one thing I'd love to talk about is creativity, because I feel like that really is the core of why I'm doing this and how I'm doing this and the way I'm doing this. And I've learned a lot about creativity in my sage old years. And that creativity, and we talked a little about the beginner's mind, but there's another mindset that to me is what is really powerful to be open to. And that is that creativity flows through you. It flows through us. It's not like I sit down and I'm like, I have to make this thing. If I try to force something, it sucks. And it's not gonna happen. You have to be open to it. You're a conduit. It's this magical thing that's out there. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to explain it, other than I know how to tap into it.
How do you tap into it?
Just being open and being clear-minded, being playful, being kind of childish, and allowing it to just, like, you're seeking this desire, this goal. Say it's like a bed or something, that there are some rules, oh, okay, I'm trying to get to this thing, but then just keep going, keep drawing, keep messing with it, get in that state of flow, don't stop. And if you don't feel it, then maybe that's not the day. Maybe wait till next. You'll wake up. I dream of it constantly. I'm constantly like waking middle of the night, like, I got it. And I'll draw, or I'll make notes, or a lot of times I just type on my phone next to the bed and just make all these notes about what I'm after, or I'll dictate. That is a powerful force. And they always say, like, oh yeah, people are gifted, they're given this thing. But I don't believe it. I think it's just like the people that they say that are just people that are listening and being open to that. And so I think of all the people you're gonna meet, I think that's probably gonna be a common thread through them all, is like we're all just conduits of this thing, and we're listening to it, and we're letting it guide us and letting it kind of control our hand a bit. And then it can lead you to anything. Like, if once you know that, and once you know how to do that, then you can like, I'm in furniture now. Say I want to get in ceramics. I literally could see myself going into like something like that, and I could see the path so clearly, because I know kind of how to allow myself to do that, or sculpture or something. Like, it's all the same thing. So when people ask me, like, how did graphic design lead to furniture, I'm like, it's all the same shit. And I'm just doing graphic design in furniture right now. It's all the same. So that'd be my little bit of wisdom.
I love that. Yeah, as someone who I feel like loves to take different paths, or I think I can think of them as almost like pivots, but I think what you described as, it's more of an evolution. It's the same thing, just sort of changing shape over and over again. Yeah, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
for
Briana.
having me. I really appreciate it. Love being here.
Thanks for coming into the shop.
I hope this episode left you feeling inspired and expanded. If you'd like to support the show, the best way is to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with the fellow craft workers or craft curious in your life. You'll find everything we talked about, including links to today's guest, in the show notes. You can follow the show on socials @TradesShow to stay up to date. And if you're listening, you can watch the full video version on YouTube. I would highly recommend. It's a treat. And if you're watching, you can stream the audio wherever you get your podcasts. If you have any questions, feedback, or guest suggestions, please reach out anytime. You'll find my contact information in the show notes or at thetradesshow.co. Until next time, Stay creative, curious, and continue to honor your craft.